Hello. I shouldn't have done so much crumbling backstage. Did a lot. Good evening.
Good evening.
In the name of the Father, what are we doing? Valentine's Day is the ultimate day to go on a blind date, specifically with a woman who is way out of your league. Valentine's Day is the day when women are so broken and emotionally vulnerable that they will consider literally anyone, even me. I am chronically unlucky in dating. I once had a girlfriend who loved to tell me whenever I had zits because her favorite pastime was to pop them. That's true. Sad but true. I once dated a girl whose favorite movie was American History X, and she used to say things like, "Of course I don't believe in Hitler, but wasn't he just like a fascinating guy?" 2 years ago, I went on an OkCupid date to Cat and Fiddle on Valentine's Day without ever having met the girl before. I figured she seems as desperate as I am, and what better day to share our mutual desperation than on the day named after a bare-ass flying Greek baby or whatever. So anyway, she accepted my invitation, and dressed in my finest embroidered jacket with a cool dragon design on the side, I went to Cat and Fiddle on Sunset. When I arrived, I like how my fashion taste is the thing that's giving the most laughs. So, he sucks. All right. When I arrived, I was pleased to learn that there would be live jazz music in the courtyard outside, setting the mood for what was sure to be a very romantic evening. There was the nervous chatter of love in the air. Elderly couples bantering about what types of drinks to order. Waitresses angrily texting their boyfriends about having to work on Valentine's. Foggy musicians wondering if they'd ever been in love. Between two strangers with a 37% match rating from a website designed to make people's lives seem more attractive, it was sure to be a night so romantic that we would tell our 7 children about it. As I seated myself at a table outside near the band, I spotted the most beautiful, angelic woman nearby. She was alone, and I knew immediately, based on the photographs she provided online, the hints as to how she carried herself, and the indicative red flower in her hair, this was most certainly not my date. She looked nothing like my date, and there was nothing I found more attractive. Speaking of my date, wherever the hell she was nowhere to be found, no text messages, nothing. We were nearing a half hour after our scheduled meeting. I had no choice but to seduce the lovely stranger. I mean, it was Valentine's Day after all. What am I, married? For the life of me, I can't remember how the conversation got started. I was so nervous and desperate for it to actually happen that when it actually did, my mind had a nervous breakdown. The only thing I can compare it to is that feeling just before a plane crash or performing during any live improv show. After breaking the ice with some effortlessly clever line that for some reason I can't remember and therefore you cannot verify, she and I got to know one another. She wasn't just some lonely schmo like me sitting alone on Valentine's Day. She was the jazz singer in the band at Cat and Fiddle. I have a thing for singers because, 1, they can sing, and 2, that's cool. There's nothing more seductive than a sexy singer who is also sexy. This turned out to be my lucky night. Or so I thought. Valentine's Day is a fickle mistress, and when she is jilted, her favor sways. That's exactly the moment when my actual date finally called. She'd been held up in traffic, or as it's commonly known, nervous to meet a complete stranger. I didn't know how to feel. Do I ignore the angelic woman from now on? Is she going to be annoyed when she sees me on a date with somebody else? And what if my date is actually likable? What then? I start to panic and order more whiskey while her car arrives. When she arrives, I stand to meet her at the archway. She looks nice, as if she spent a lot of time and effort getting into her very red, very Valentine's-y outfit. She's wearing the exact right amount of cleavage to suggest that she is in it to win it, and I'm not backing out now. I showed her to our table, and we sat down as the band descends the stage. So I start to talk to her, and I realize she's nervous. She seems like a genuinely fine human being, but nervous to the point where I couldn't tell if I was meeting an actual person or the hastily glued back together remains of a broken person after a breakup. Thankfully, I excel in awkward, she knows what I'm talking about. Thankfully, I excel in awkward social situations like these. Seeing someone nervous gives me the confidence I need to win the conversation. I asked her about her experiences on the website. It's an old trick I used. If you ask someone about an old date on a current date, they become so uncomfortable that sometimes you can slip out the back while they're crying. It works. That's when the beautiful angelic singer ascends the stage and starts to sing. Her voice is as heavenly as her demeanor, and the courtyard swells with the romantic fervor it was so sorely lacking. Suddenly, the old couple stop bickering and hold hands, gazing lovingly into each other's eyes. Waitresses stopped using angry, aggressive emojis and instead tweeted sweet, albeit poorly spelled messages of love to their boyfriends, who were seconds away from surprising them anyway. Love was in the air. I couldn't help but being captivated by the singer's eyes, who kept darting to me every few seconds. It was a cruel temptation, but one I enjoyed. My date was completely clueless. Nervous as she was, she could barely consider anything other than whether I was having a good time, and with two lovely ladies gunning for my affection. For some reason I was. I was looking at the evening of pleasure and romance and the promise of using that 6-year-old, hopefully still functional condom that was burning a hole in my wallet. Shit, that's a long time. Fuck. Unfortunately, as often happens in romance, I had overestimated my ability to handle the situation. Maybe I'd been imagining the singer's glances. Maybe my date had noticed. Maybe I was overblowing the situation in my mind. I started to panic again. That's the exact moment when the angelic singer switched to the absolutely perfect, but just a little bit too on the nose jazz standard, "My Funny Valentine." And the best part is, she's making eyes at me like I'm the Valentine. I got so caught up in the moment I couldn't help but stare back. Her voice swept me away to a magic place in the Balkan Mountains where she and I raised goats. There was no doubt about it now. She was singing to me, and with a twinkle in her eye, like it was part of some joke between us that forgot my date. My date! Oh my God, I almost forgot my date. Had she noticed what was going on between me and the singer? Her eyes darting back and forth. Did she understand the complex situation unfolding? Time froze, and a Max Payne-like bullet time hell of romance. Having the once-in-a-lifetime experience of being seduced by a singer on Valentine's Day, I was incapable of restraining my gaze. My date fell silent. She knew I'd disengaged from her. She could see it in my eyes. The evening came to a close. The band finished their set and thanked the audience. I walked my date to her car and felt the impending doom of an unfond farewell. How could she not hate me after I'd eye-fucked the singer during our date on Valentine's Day? "I had a really nice time tonight," I said, meaning in honesty. "So did I," she said somewhat compulsively, and she took my face like a Georgia peach and she jammed her tongue down my throat. "What was happening?" I screamed. As her sloppy farewell washed over me, that's when it hit me. Amongst all the romance, the tension, and the seduction, I'd forgotten the true meaning of Valentine's Day. The desperation! I didn't love her, she didn't love me. But for one sweet moment, our drunken tongues intertwined like two eels in the window display of some disgusting Korean market. And all was right with the world. I never saw either of those women again. But I did donate $25 to help get the singer's Kickstarter album off the ground. When I received a complimentary signed copy in the mail, I really enjoyed it. And now, every time I listen to her sing, I'll remember all your fond faces, and I'll think to myself, desperation to all, and to all a good night.